Welcome back to another conference tournament prediction video. Today we got the Atlantic 10 Conference, also known as the A10. There's a lot of exciting teams here. We're looking at VCU as the one seed. Can they get an at-large bid, or do they need to win the conference? There's a lot of great teams. Dayton, Georgia Mason have been kind of at certain points in the season in contention for at-large spots. I'm not sure if they can get them now. And still some really good teams. St. Louis, Loyola, Chicago, obviously we know what they can do in March, and St. Joseph's I think is a really good team. So yeah, there's a lot of really good teams in this conference. This tournament not getting talked about a lot, but I think it's wide open. I really do. As much as I love VCU and I think they're probably objectively the best team in this conference, I think it really is a lot of teams, a lot of different teams I think can win this conference. Real quick, before we get into our predictions, though, make sure you subscribe. Check out our previous conference tournament prediction videos. Yesterday we did the ACC and Big 12. We're going to continue throughout the rest of this week with uploading kind of the bigger and more important, dare I say, conferences. And yeah, it's just a very exciting time to be on the channel, so make sure you get on there, subscribe. With that being said, though, in the 12-13 matchup, it's going to be Davidson versus Richmond. Richmond's 10-21. Davidson is on a 4-game losing streak. I don't love that, but I will say against Richmond, they've beat them twice this season. I think Davidson is overall objectively the better team here. Richmond is the second lowest ranked team in Torvik in this conference. Davidson is not super high, but they're 10th. They're pretty up there. They got a just outside of top 100 offense. I think Davidson gets it done for a third time over Richmond. They got a guy, Reed Bailey, averaging 19 points a game. I like him. I think they can get it done. Rhode Island versus Fordham. I'm not sure how you say that name. I'm going to call him Fordham. Won't have to worry about it too much longer because they're the lowest ranked team in this conference. I like Rhode Island here. I'm not too worried about this one. They just don't look like a really great team at all. I mean, they have lost like 9 in a row or something crazy like that, maybe 7, 8, 9 games in a row. I mean, it's been bad recently. Yeah, 9 games or 8 games in a row actually. Now their most recent win was against Rhode Island, which take what you want from that, but I don't think they're really all that good if I'm being honest. They're 11-20 on the season, 3-15 in conference. Rhode Island is at least 7-11, and they have a pretty decent overall record at 18-12. So I like them. And then UMass versus LaSalle. I don't know. Both these teams don't really strike me as anything crazy. LaSalle's ranked 13th in Torvik in this conference. UMass is ranked 12th. They're actually pretty close together as well. LaSalle, you could argue, is the more well-rounded team, and I remember I was looking at this and I was like, I might go with LaSalle here. UMass plays at a very fast pace, but so does LaSalle. They force a lot of turnovers. I think that could play into their hands. But then I looked at their season series and who was doing well in the season series, and UMass dominated them in both games. They won the first game by 22 points, the most recent game by 23 points. I just can't look past that. And I would argue the Torvik numbers, and that's why that can't be everything you look at. Because if I was just looking at that, I would probably take LaSalle just based off this matchup. But, I mean, clearly the matchup favors UMass, so I'll take them. St. Bonaventure versus Duquesne. These are two fun teams. You love to see the Bonnies. Duquesne, we saw what they did in the A10 last season. They were a major bid stealer, and they actually won their first-round game against BYU, the team that I was super high on last season. Yeah, we saw what they can do in this tournament. Can they do it again is the question. I think there's a chance they could win this game. St. Bonaventure only placed one game ahead of them in the conference standings. St. Bonaventure also did just beat Duquesne and in a pretty close game. Earlier in the season, Duquesne beat them, so they split the season series. But honestly, St. Bonaventure is a lot higher. They're ahead of teams like St. Louis, Loyola, Chicago. They're actually the 5th highest ranked Torvik team in this conference. They're ranked 88th in the country. They have a top 60 defense. They don't shoot the three very well, and they play at a pretty slow pace, so I worry about that for their ceiling in this tournament. But against Duquesne, I think they should be fine. I mean, that defense is really good. And the offense is just outside the top 150, so it's not, horrible. It's actually ranked higher than Duquesne's offense, and Duquesne's a slow-paced team who also likes to play good defense. So I think that might favor St. Bonaventure a little bit. St. Louis versus Davidson. A lot of people like St. Louis, and I do too. I think they're a really talented team. I think they get past Davidson pretty easily here. Um, they're actually a little bit lower than I thought they'd be in Torvik, but still a solid team. I mean, their turnover rate is a problem, or differential, I should say, but they shoot a lot of threes. As a team, they shoot almost 60% from two, which is very interesting. They defend the two. So does that tell me they guard the paint and they shoot a lot of threes? So it's interesting there. But again, the turnover margin is really problematic, to say the least, for St. Louis. But they have close to a top 100 defense. I like their chances against Davidson. I'm not too worried there. And they've shown flashes to be a really good team this season. George Washington versus Rhode Island. George Washington is actually one spot behind St. Louis. They have almost a top 75 defense. They get to the free throw line a lot, and they don't foul a lot. So they have one of the best free throw differentials, or margins, I should say, in the country, which is interesting. I'll go ahead and take them. I don't love that they sometimes rely on that. So that, I feel like, limits their ceiling as well. But I'll take them over Rhode Island. I don't think Rhode Island really has anything too cool, too noticeable really going for them. I mean, they also shoot a lot of free throws, but again, George Washington doesn't give up a lot, so that might hurt Rhode Island. Yeah, I'll take George Washington. In the 6-11 game, St. Joseph's versus UMass. I mentioned earlier, UMass is a bottom 3 or bottom 4 ranked Torvik team. St. Joseph's is all the way up there, and we'll get to St. Joseph's because I really like this team. But as of right now, I'll leave it with this. They're top 100 both offense and defense. They shoot the three very well, and I just think they're more complete, much better than UMass. I like them to the quarterfinals pretty easily. The one-seeded VCU. The big question is, can they get the at-large bid? We will ultimately see. I think they definitely deserve it just because how weak the bubble is. But, we will see. Against St. Bonaventure, this could actually be a scary spot for VCU. St. Bonaventure, like I mentioned, 5th highest ranked team in Torvik. They have a almost top 50 defense. They played a very slow pace. The problem with that is VCU also likes to slow the game down and play defense. So I feel like you're playing into VCU's hands a bit. I'll take VCU to win this one, and move on as the one seed. They're 25-6. They did just lose to Dayton, but before that they were on an absolute tear. So I like them. Loyola Chicago versus St. Louis. This one is really tough. It could definitely go either way. I could see either of these teams winning. I really went back and forth on who I wanted to take here. Loyola Chicago is about 6 spots ahead of them in Torvik. Loyola Chicago ranked 90th in defense. St. Louis ranked 103. St. Louis is 12 spots ahead of them in offense and 13 behind them in defense. I mean, this is just a really, really even matchup. They both shoot the two very well and defend the paint very well. That's interesting. I think this game will be won in the paint. And who has the better metrics there? It is St. Louis. Again, I worry about their turnovers, but I think they can get through. I think they can carry a bit of that momentum they got with Davidson, and move past Loyola Chicago, who will have not played in a little bit. But you can never count out Loyola Chicago in March. We know what they can do. The 2-seeded George Mason versus George Washington, the battle of the George schools here. Yeah, in this one, I'm going to take George Mason. They're the second highest ranked team in predictive metrics here. They have a top 20 defense in the country. I mean, their defense is legit. The only flaw with their defense is they don't. Well, there's levels. I mean, they let teams shoot a lot of threes, but the 3-point percentage against them is very low. So I don't really know what that's about. Maybe they close out threes very well. That's kind of a weird thing. You don't see that. I mean, they're like a bottom 30 team in 3-point rate defense, but they're a top 20 team in 3-point percentage defense. That is a weird thing to see, but just know they have a really good defense. I don't think they lose to George Washington. They were at one point getting at-large bid talks. I mean, this is a really good George Mason team. And then the 3 versus 6, Dayton versus St. Joseph's. This one is tough. Dayton, like I mentioned, just beat VCU. They're playing pretty solid recently. these two teams, St. Joseph's actually ranks ahead of them in Torvik, 79th compared to Dayton at 80. I believe St. Joseph's is also ahead of. No, they're not ahead of Dayton in KenPom, but they are 4 spots behind. I mean, this is a really even matchup. Looking at what happened in the regular season series, Dayton won the only meeting 77-72. Very close game at home, keep in mind. I think St. Joseph's second time around, I think they can get them. I really do. I think St. Joseph's can pull this upset. Dayton's a great team. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they're on a 4-game win streak. They won 6 of the last 7 games, and their only losses to Loyola Chicago by 4 on the road. They're playing really solid right now. I could see them winning this game for sure. But St. Joseph's, man, something about this team, I'm getting some serious Duquesne vibes. I mean, they're 6th seed as well. They're top 90 in offense, top 80 in defense. I think they're a bit more well-rounded than Dayton. Dayton struggles defensively at times, and they struggle to defend the 3, and that's one of the things St. Joseph's really likes to do. So I'll take them to move on. VCU versus St. Louis. It's hard for me to take St. Louis again here. VCU has a top 30 defense in the country, and St. Louis has one of the worst turnover margins. Definitely the worst in this conference. That worries me in this matchup. I'm going to take VCU. Overall, I think they're better, though. Top 40 in offense, top 30 in defense. I mean, that is legit. St. Louis is overall all the way down at 109 in Torvik. Outside of the top 100 in both, I just think VCU's just more complete. I think they'll control the pace of this game, not let St. Louis chuck up as many threes as they would like, because they have a very good 3-point defense as well. Their defense is just really good overall. So I like VCU. George Mason versus St. Joseph's. This one really got me thinking. George Mason ranks 75th in Torvik compared to St. Joseph's at 79th. In KenPom, St. Joseph's ranks 78 compared to George Mason at 85. It's kind of the same thing with Dayton for me with St. Joseph. St. Joseph's Dayton, kind of the same thing here in this matchup. George Mason, better defense, clearly. I mean, they have a top 20 defense in the country. That's nothing to scoff at, look over. But they only played St. Joseph's one time in the regular season at home. They won by 1 point. St. Joseph's plays every loss St. Joseph's had is a very close loss. Keep in mind, this St. Joseph's team has played a really strong non-conference schedule. I think they get it done again. I think they're the more complete, well-rounded team. I mean, you look at the numbers. George Mason, 17th in defense. You think, okay, this is a really good team. 210 in offense? I don't know. St. Joseph's, 89th in offense, 79th in defense. I think that's really solid. Like I said, they're a top 40 team in 3-point rate. George Mason, like I said, 3-point rate, bottom 30, or 3-point rate defense, bottom 30 in the country. I don't know. I don't like that. I think St. Joseph's gets it done and goes on a run to the championship game, and now they get to play the VCU team everyone talks about. I think they, at this point, would deserve an at-large bid. Now, me and the committee, we're not the same. Obviously, I'm not on the selection committee. I think at this point, VCU would deserve a non-conference bid. That might be debatable, and we'll see what happens if they were to win or lose in their conference tournament. But VCU is definitely not going to leave this up to chance. They're going to play. They're going to play like they have to win, and I think that's fair. I mean, they really might have to. VCU has been the top team in this conference. They've been the highest-ranked team in this conference in predictive metrics all season. They're 28th in KenPom. They're out of teams like Ole Miss, Baylor, Michigan, Creighton, UConn, Mississippi State, Oregon. Clear tournament teams they're ahead of. This VCU team is so strong. They defend the 3 very well, and they shoot a lot as well. They're just an elite defense, and their offense is really strong as well. But St. Joseph's, at this point, they'll have won, 1, 2, 3 games in a row against very tough teams. Like I said, St. Joseph's, every loss they have in this conference is close. I mean, and you look in the non-conference, I know this was a while back, they beat Texas Tech, who's the 2 seed in the Big 12. They lost a close game to Texas. They beat they beat American, who is a really strong team in the Patriot League, I believe. Made it to their conference championship game. They also beat Navy, who also made it to their conference championship game in the Patriot League. They have a close loss to Central Connecticut, who's the 1 seed in their conference. They beat Villanova, who has a really strong player in Eric Dixon. They have a lot of good non-conference wins. Their only blowout losses to St. Louis, and that was like early January. I mean, every loss, even the VC, when they lost to VCU, they only played one time. They lost by 9 points. I think St. Joseph's does what Duquesne did last year. I think they win the A10 and really give the committee something to think about. There's going to be a bid stealer. There's no way there's zero, and I haven't picked one yet. I think St. Joseph does it, and beats VCU in the championship game. I like this team. I could be very wrong. St. Joseph's could go out there and lose to Dayton. I don't think they lose to UMass. They could go out and lose to Dayton, and VCU could very well win this conference. Teams like George Mason, St. Louis, Loyola, Chicago, Dayton, all very strong teams. But I'm taking St. Joseph's to make a miracle run and win this conference. I just love that non-conference schedule, and the fact that they beat teams like Texas Tech just really goes to show that they're a legit team. I like their 3-point upside. I think they beat VCU. I think this is my prediction, my picks. You can get mad all you want, but I got to pick a one bid stealer. There's always at least one. So I like St. Joseph's, but let me know, comment down below what you got in this conference. Love to talk down there, debate down there. Like this video if you made it this far. Check out our most recent videos popping up on the screen now, and check out all of our previous conference tournament prediction videos. We did the ACC Big 12 yesterday. Stay tuned, because in the following days we're going to be wrapping up our conference tournament videos and having all 31 out. Subscribe if you're new. We're trying to hit 1,000 by the end of the year. But with all that being said, that's going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for watching this one.